expert mentor, Nandini Menon, who will be doing the first talk today. Let me quickly introduce Nandini to you. So Nandini is an expert special educator and a teacher of students with visual impairments for over 14 years of experience in this field. And she is an expert in education, daily living skills, orientation mobility, conducting workshops for parents, teachers, and students. So Nandini is a special educator at the reputed inclusive school Head Start Academy. She was a program coordinator for children's services at Enable India. She has worked at the California School for the Blind in USA as an instructor. Taught at the graduate school at Florida State University and assisted in research on braille, reading, paraprofessionals, and aids of deaf blindness. And she has a master's degree in visual disabilities from Florida State University in the USA. So we are very lucky to have her as a mentor at Vision Empower. She has been an advisor and reviewer of all content and interventions created at Vision Empower for students and teachers over the last 2 years. So over to Nandini. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supriya. That was a long list of things, so I hope I can live up to it while talking. Um, I know that the last 2 days there has been a lot of talk about expanded core curriculum, tactiles, teacher instructional kits, and so today I was thinking I will just talk a little bit about my experience, and also I wanted to mention that my sister's also blind, and so I have also learned while growing up with my sister about visual impairment, teaching children who are blind. So I actually am going to talk about how visual impairment and blindness um, impact children's lives, and then how, as educators, what should we do to make a change. The one thing that affects blindness the most affects education the most because of your visual impairment or blindness, is that children don't have incidental learning. Some research says 80%, some research says 90%, but more than 80% of all learning for human beings is incidental. We learn just by seeing. So let me give an example of what is incidental learning. Um, Let us talk about, let's say, birds. Um, a child who is sighted can see the bird on the ground, in a tree, in a nest, maybe flying in the sky. Now, a child who is blind, on the other hand, maybe their mother will tell them, or teacher, or someone around them will say that sound coming from outside, that's the sound of a bird. Maybe if they live in a rural or in a place where they can touch birds, they will get to touch a bird. But one thing that most children will not know is how do birds fly, because that is something that sighted children, just by looking, will see that they move their wings up and down. But how many children who are blind will know how birds move their wings up and down? Everyone will tell them bird is in the sky, the bird is flying, but how many people will show them how do the birds fly? And uh, sighted children, no one has to ever show them how are birds flying.
Nandini, very interesting that you brought this example.
Yeah.
So Dr. Padmini had said this, that that one child, she was running a workshop, and this child was told about the bird, and that the bird was hopping and walking, and the child, visually impaired child, asks, so birds also walk? And the child has already grown up.
Yeah.
So the fact is that no one has told the child that the bird not only flies but also walks.
Yes. Just thinking about that one thing, then if you look at your life every day, just think about how many things are there that we learn just by seeing. Like, for example, there are different kinds of chairs. Some chairs have 3 legs, some chairs have 4 legs, some chairs have only one leg in the middle. or some are on a bench. But when we see it, we all know, oh, this is something to sit on. But how do we know that? Because we've seen it, we've seen other people sitting on it, so we understand that, okay, if it's like this, it means we can sit on it. But for children who are blind, everything has to be explained, like, okay, this is a different looking chair, but you can still sit on it. This is a bench, but you can still sit. Unless we talk about it and show them, they will not know, what these objects are for or what these experiences are. And that is why we need to give them as many experiences as possible where they are actually touching and feeling things. And many times in my experience, what has happened is children come from families where the families are very scared to let them do things, because they are scared they will get hurt. So that has been my experience. Many times parents are very protective. They don't want them to go out, they don't want the children to touch things, they may fall. So we have to, as teachers, give them a safe place, but make sure that they do everything that they can, that a sighted child can do. They have to run, they have to go out, play. uh, Only when they do these things, they will have experiences where they are touching things, finding out about new things. Otherwise, if we only look at the academic textbook, only what is in the book they will learn about life, but that way you may miss out so many other things. Another thing that we have to do is have expectations, and but realistic expectations of the children. We should not think that because they are blind they cannot do this. Say math will be difficult because there are too many pictures, they can't do geometry. We should not think that. Some, like sighted children, some children are very good at math, some children are not good at math. That is there in sighted children and in blind children. But we have to give them all the same opportunity, so they all get to learn how to do math and science, so that if they really like it, they can take it up in the 11th and 12th. And if they don't want to do it, they don't do it after. But at least till the 10th standard, everybody should have that experience. What I do usually is, whatever I am trying to help the child understand, I try and use real objects or concrete experiences first, and then from there move to abstract concepts and abstract. So whatever we are doing, as far as possible, I try to use something real. If I
So,
can't get real, only then I go for models and tactiles. And the one thing that I try to do, or try not to do, is to skip any concept. uh, if anything is being taught in any subject, math, science, whichever subject it is, I make sure that the child at least learns it, even if sometimes it's very visual. But even then, I will try my best to make sure, like three-dimensional geometry, cuboids, trigonometry, all these things in the higher levels, because the children now I'm working with are in the ninth and 10th standard. These are all very difficult concepts for people if they have not seen these objects. But I make sure I do it first. Take a concrete box like a cuboid or an object, make them understand what they have to do, and then they will learn the formulas and learn to do it. But I won't say that because it's visual, let's just skip it, because anyway in the exam they will give you an exemption. But in life, nobody is going to give you an exemption. After you finish school and you have to go to work, no one is going to say, oh, because you're blind, don't do this. So we have to make sure that whatever is being taught, we make sure they learn how to do it. Maybe they
so
won't get 20 marks on 20, maybe they'll get 10, but they know how to do it. And that's what's important. The other thing, how to teach and making the curriculum, making adaptations, making it accessible, all those things are also part of what we do. And sometimes, see, I know I have studied in America, and I've studied in India, and I know over here it's not easy to get all the material. But sometimes you just have to use objects in your house um, to teach, in geometry, to teach what a cylinder is. You can take that soraka loki and teach that, and say this is a cylinder, and you can teach the length and the diameter. You don't have to get objects and special equipment and special things. just things around the house can be used to teach so many objects, so many concepts. And really, in this last 1.5 years, we have really learned that because of the pandemic, we have not had access to any of special objects. We've just used what is available in our house to teach. So, knowing how to do these adaptations, knowing for which subject or which chapter, what should we do, that is really how we can help our children. Knowing how to adapt it, how to make which concept, how to teach it. Now that also becomes difficult. Like everybody may not know, like just looking, okay, how do I teach this concept? So I think something that we have done over the last 2 3 years is putting together whatever ideas we have had on from the from each chapter in the textbook, how to teach this concept. And we've shown different ways. Okay, you don't have this material, okay, then you can use this other material. So we've shown different ways in which these concepts can be taught. So we have tried to make like this complex issue of what to teach, how to adapt, should we adapt. We have tried to make it simpler. All this information, as Vidya said, is there in the teacher instructional kits. That's really what I have to say today. Have high expectations, don't skip any concept, and give as many experiences as you can for your children, and that itself will make a big difference in their lives. Don't skip concepts. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nandini.